That's all we need.
That's all we need. Yeah. That is the perfect way to begin this episode.
Welcome. Hello, everyone. Hi.
Welcome to the Mixed Reviews. Hi, Louie.
Hi, Gavin.
Hi. So we just introduced ourselves by saying hi.
Hi, I'm Gavin, and you're Louie.
I'm Louie, and you're Gavin.
And I'm Gay Rights.
Yeah, Gay Rights. We're both Gay Rights.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Mixed Reviews. Mixed Reviews is a podcast, if this is your first episode, in which we talk about an actor or director or a mini genre, and we talk about what we like and what we don't like.
And we have lots of fun. We mix up the reviews.
We do.
We watch as many movies as we can.
Oh, yeah. And it gets complicated.
Let's talk a little bit before we get into this week's episode about last episode, where we talked about Miss Regina King.
Oh, my God. That episode is, I'm not saying this just because I put it together. That episode is so good.
It's a really good episode.
Yeah, it's a good episode. Not to toot our own horn.
But toot bitches.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun doing that, and I think I feel like we have the most fun when, we really end up really liking we're discovering new and, interesting things about, these people.
And a fun little game for you guys at home is to go back and listen to the episodes where we didn't enjoy the subtext. You can find them. They exist.
You know what, Gap,
I try and remain positive. I do.
We're 40 episodes deep now.
Yeah.
Which kind of seems insane. We've been doing this a little over a year now. I think.
More than a year. Almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in May. Yeah. So if we're bi-weekly, Louie, that means at 52 episodes, that'll be our...
Okay, don't talk to me about math and numbers. That's homophobic. Okay?
Yes, it is.
But we returned with our poll the last episode, and we asked you guys to go online to our Twitter and vote for what your favorite Regina King movie and performance is, and the results are in.
Very surprising results. I was not expecting this.
Yeah. Kind of, yeah. So in last place was Ray with 6%. Poetic Justice, which was my pick, came in at 12%. Jerry Maguire came in at 15%, and your pick, If Beale Street Could Talk, came in at 67%. So kind of a landslide.
There was a long, a very strong last-minute rally for Jerry Maguire, and that was what surprised me. I mean, I know there's a huge gap between If Beale Street Could Talk and Jerry Maguire. I was like, wow, we didn't talk enough about Jerry Maguire, apparently. It's apparently very popular. Before we move into our... talking about our next subject. And normally I do this at the end of an episode, but I want to continue this in old business because recently we've received a lot of outpouring and love from people, and it's sort of came unexpected and is very touching. So I do want to read this. We actually recently got 2 new 5-star iTunes reviews. The first from Miss 8866. And it says, "This is a great show. Both Gavin and Louie are so knowledgeable and have such a fun rapport with each other, even when they disagree on their choices."
Michael Rappaport?
Yeah, Michael Rappaport. I'm not Rappaport. And from Pod Addict T, we got, "Gavin and Louie's show is one of the rare gems you're always looking for, but never seem to find. With expert audio quality, a fantastic premise, and great discussion, this wholly original podcast will leave you longing for more. Stop reading my review and hit play already."
Aww.
So those are very, very sweet.
It's very sweet that someone thinks I'm knowledgeable about anything. Thank you so much.
Well, wait till they meet you in real life.
Right. This is all a facade. Smoke and mirrors.
We also received a really wonderful email.
Yeah. We got truly just the nicest email. And so, thank you. It says, "Hi, Gavin and Louie. I'm a stay-at-home mom from Nevada who recently moved to Oklahoma for my husband's work." Yes, Queen, family, love and that. "I discovered your show after Gavin was on This Had Oscar Buzz. Shout out to them. We love them. And I quickly devoured all of your back catalog as I unpacked." Girl,
I know, 40 episodes.
40 episodes.
Thank you.
And
I apologize for about maybe the first 6 or 7. I don't know.
And also, you must have a great big house in Oklahoma to unpack all that.
Yeah, by the way, we both live in New York City, so we basically live in a closet, one of your closets, actually. Right. We're moving in.
She says, "My only complaint is that I've gotten so used to hearing your voices in my ear every day. Now I'm going through a bit of withdrawal as I wait for the next episode. I'm taking solace in that my 5-year-old son has started mimicking me, who is mimicking Louie's scream whenever Gavin says something surprising. No signs yet on if my baby's first word will be casual, but I'm crossing my fingers. I love the show and thank you both for it so much. Michelle." So thank you so much, Michelle. And, I don't know, the screams just come out.
They do.
They just come out.
I appreciate them.
Okay.
I am a lover of them. I enjoy them. I like when they're verbal.
I feel like a drag queen almost when when it's just Like, I don't know. Like, you know, because I don't want to do a full guttural. It's just like kind of like a dinosaur screech.
It is really strange how your neck does that unfurling thing and you spit that acid in my face.
Yeah. That's a Latino thing.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. But thank you so much to everyone who has nice things to say, and thank you for listening. 40 episodes in, and we're still going strong.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
So episode 41.
Yes.
We're talking about Rachel Weisz.
Yes. Oh my God. Heads up, real quick. I know her name is Rachel Weisz. Mm-hmm. I've heard her say her name is Rachel Weisz.
One time I changed my name because I pronounce it Weisz. My dad pronounces it Weisz, and there's a W. And in England, there just aren't any people with my name. Whereas in America, like Weisz is a really common name. So we have this thing in England called Spotlight, which is a kind of catalogue where all actors put their 10 by 8 photo and their height and their agent and stuff like that. So I had my it was like I was 25 or something, so I had my Spotlight application and I sent in the picture to my agent and I changed the spelling to Vyce to spell phonetically Weisz. And my agent, it wasn't the woman. The woman I'm with now was his assistant at the time, and he called me up, and he just screamed at me. He said, "It looks like what do you call it in America? Like we call them number plates on cars. You call
license plate."
Yeah, he said it looks like a fucking license plate. Yeah, so and I was like, oh, okay, I guess, all right. But I wish I changed it to VYC because then people would pronounce it right. I've given up, and it doesn't really matter.
Undoubtedly, at some point in this podcast, I will call her Rachel Weisz. I apologize. I'm terrible at pronouncing things. I have it in my brain that it's Weisz just because it's a W. I know it's Weisz. Mm-hmm. Heads up apology.
I mean, honestly, that just seems like violence. Like, I don't know what I'm saying. But Rachel Weisz, we landed on her. Why, Gavin?
We landed on her mostly because it's award season currently, which will be outdated for listening to this in the future. But at the moment, she has just won the BAFTA for Best Supporting Actress for The Favourite. Mm-hmm. She's currently nominated for Best Supporting Actress for The Favourite at the Oscars.
Yeah.
So we figured this is a good time to revisit her career. A lot of people are still just seeing The Favourite now. It's still in theaters. Mm-hmm. I mean, being nominated for Best Picture gives the movie a huge bump. Highly recommend going to go see it.
Yeah, we were like looking through like all the nominees and like thinking like who could be like an interesting person to like take a spin through. And truly, we kind of were like, she stuck out so much just because she's had a long career and her career.
And it's been unique and interesting. And
so insane. I mean, I told you, I watched upward to like 16, 17 movies of hers in the past couple weeks, and it just is like turn after turn after turn, and you just do not know where she's going or what she's doing. And it's so interesting. She seems like such a cool person. And I am really excited.
Yeah. The one thing, I found some stuff about her process in terms of acting, but I'd really like to know what her process is in terms of film picking, or like what she's going to come up with for her next movie, what projects she attaches herself to. And I think we've got kind of a grasp on that from doing this episode.
I'm not a good auditioner. I never have been. Some people are. I think some people can come and do the brilliant audition, and I'm just more messy as an actor. I don't know how to do like I've never been good at it. And under pressure to come up with the goods, it's not my strong point. But I don't know. Someone once said to me, I suppose if you go in and show as much of yourself whilst being whoever the character is, and make a strong choice, whatever it is. That this is if they don't want you, I mean, it's hard, but as I used to say, if they don't want you, then they don't want you, and then you don't want them. I think the terror and the fear is important. The fear is kind of the steam for the engine that makes you. I mean, you want to be relaxed as well, so it's kind of a contradiction. But that's always the problem, isn't it? You want to be relaxed, but you're frightened. So yeah, I mean, it's all frightening.
But also, she is one of the most eclectic actors working.
Yeah, she fully feels like a weird theater kid.
Yes, yeah,
like and in the best possible way.
And her history proves that. I feel like
her history proves that, and also, I mean, she's obviously stunning, gorgeous woman.
Yeah.
Always has been. And, I think she started modeling as a very young, teenager. And, but she was just like, nope, I'm gonna be weird. And it's so cool. It's so cool to see her, continue on that. So, why don't we dive into our rewind?
Excellent.
Rachel Weisz was born in London in 1970 to some Jewish parents. They fled to Britain 3 decades before, on the cusp of the Second World War. So her father is a Hungarian and he was an inventor, and her mother was a Viennese psychoanalyst. They divorced when she was 15, and she kind of was this rebellious child bouncing between schools. She began modeling when she was 13, and I didn't know this, but she turned down a role in Richard Gere's King David.
Right. The thing that's weird about that...
When she's at 14.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to. I've never seen King David. I know it's famously a disaster. Our good friends over at the B-Side, which is part of the Film Stage show, did an episode about Richard Gere. Actually, my favorite episode they've done so far, because it was Dan Mecca and his mom, who's a Richard Gere superfan. Love that. So I highly recommend listening to that. But outside of that, I'd really never heard of King David. Who is she going to play? Right. It's a movie about the biblical David. She was fucking 14. Yeah. Hopefully not a love interest.
Yeah. I mean, Richard...
But, 80s.
Yeah, 80s. Richard Gere's cute, but not that cute.
Yeah, exactly.
But eventually, I presume you hope you are going to become an actress. I mean, when you finish your schooling and your exams.
I'd like to. I'm not totally sure yet. I'd like to go on to university. Is a possibility afterwards I'd like to become an actress. But right. I'm not sure.
She has said that her parents, especially her father, was never too keen on her becoming an actress. And she has lots of interviews she's saying, they mostly just thought she was kind of crap. They didn't think she was good.
My father's Hungarian, my mum was Austrian-Italian, and they were both very... not English, and culturally, strong accents, different food, different cultural way of behaving, just very not English. So, but I'm first generation, and so I am English, but going home was a foreign country. So it's hard for me to know if it's because of that, because they're the only parents I have, so I don't have any other experience. But definitely the idea of fitting inside. I'm sure anyone can relate to that if they have parents from different cultures. You hang out with all your relations, and it's just a totally different way of behaving, and different things are acceptable. You can speak at different volume and say different things, and so I think learning to fit in was something probably that came from being first generation. Yeah.
She says they weren't skeptical. They just thought I was pretty crap. They saw me in my first play and were justifiably underwhelmed. And she said she doesn't have any actors in her family. This was fully just something that she wanted to do on her own. She went to Cambridge, I believe. Yeah, she went to Cambridge for college. And while at Cambridge, she steered clear of the theater scene there and fully just made her own acting theater troupe with all women. And they were called the Talking Tongues. Which, icon, yes.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being Rachel Weisz, fully gorgeous, a full model at 13 years old, going to college, and not some shitty, whatever college, but Cambridge, and being meh, and starting your own theater group.
And I love listening to her talk about that theater group. She talks about that they were very, physical. They were, into body improv and interesting.
Very, earthy.
Yeah.
Just,
so she's a hippie theater kid.
Yeah.
I love
very that.
Love it.
They put on, their most famous play was called Slight Possession, and it literally was her, another actress, and a stepladder. And I think she does this interview where she's we were just throwing ourselves against the ladder and, working off of each other, and that play won a prize.
Yeah.
So the theatre company with the stepladder, it was very avant-garde. It was kind of physical theatre. It was non-naturalistic. We called it, it's very pompous what we called it. We called it fraught naturalism. I, after the first year, started my own theatre company with two of my best friends, and it was just myself and another girl and a director and a producer, 4 of us, and we used to write plays through improvisation. So we used to go to the Edinburgh Festival, and you had to enter the name of the play in the catalogue like a few months before, and we didn't have a play yet, so we used to think up a title, send the title, and then start improvising a play. Yeah, it really worked out. I mean, I know it's funny, but it's an okay way to do something. Get the title and then figure out what's it going to be.
So she says, we were in little floral dresses and bare feet, and we were each other's lover. But we weren't lesbians. We were kind of universal lovers. But we were hot 18-year-old girls, so I don't know what the audience made of it. We called it taut naturalism. It's very pretentious, but we'd get into a kind of very naturalistic conversation, and I'd say, I can't believe I did that to you. How could I have done that to you? And then a gesture would get stuck, and it would get incredibly violent. I was beating my head really hard, and the stepladder was the third character who got between us. That won an award at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival and was transferred to London.
Yes.
And it wasn't long after that, her and other actresses spent 6 weeks improvising a play where there were 4 courtesans taking turns trying to seduce a Parisian communard. This Parisian communard was none other than Daniel Craig.
Yeah.
Casual.
If you want to talk about lots of other weird connections she had while she was at Cambridge, fellow classmates were Sacha Baron Cohen and Sue and Mel from Original Bake Off.
Oh my god, that is the most... I really hope that Sue and Mel and Rachel get together still.
Maybe she'll guest star on their new show.
God, I hope so. So she, like, from the very beginning, she has this weirdness that's always been her thing. She's, like, skewing from mainstream and just relying on that body.
She's not afraid to be ugly, and I don't mean that in the sense that she will always be physically attractive, and she's not, this is no shade at other actors or actresses, but, like, she's not putting on, like, prosthetic noses or anything, but she's really okay with slipping into that dark night of the soul place and just bringing her characters to a real deep, dark level.
I think it's it's less visually, it's more like physically, you know?
Yeah, she can be really unappealing when she wants to be.
Yeah, she says, acting natural felt very strange to me back then. It was much easier for me to stay in the world of the absurd. Which is really telling, you know?
Yeah.
We talk about this in a lot of our episodes about people who decide to be celebrities and people who decide to be actors. And she fully has decided, I want to be an actress. And, like, she doesn't really, you know, fuck around with being in tabloids or going out and being, you know, that type of celebrity. And she said, I'm not confident around compliments or being celebrated. I'm very not comfortable with the thought of envy, which some people thrive on. I know that sounds odd because I'm an actor, but an actor is about being somebody else. I've never felt uncomfortable with my level of fame. I don't get hassled, maybe sometimes in a minor way, but New Yorkers are much too cool for that. The thing is, you choose to be an actress, but not to be a celebrity, which I just think is so cool. And, I guess I should have taken better notes about her actual career choices in films, but she starts in, like,
well, prior to getting into films, she started in TV, actually.
Oh, right. Yeah.
She starts doing British television. She was in The Advocates 2. She played a role in an Inspector Morse episode, Twilight of the Gods. And then, and I'm not sure we mentioned this in our Ewan McGregor episode, she did a 4-part miniseries called Scarlet and Black, starring Ewan McGregor, in which he was a man during the Napoleonic period who seduces rich women.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
So she made her film debut in 1994 in Death Machine. I don't know what Death Machine is.
Yeah, it's apparently a pretty small role, so I kind of skipped it as well.
Yeah, I certainly did not. The first thing I saw of hers was 1996's Chain Reaction, which was a film with Keanu Reeves and Morgan Freeman. It's kind of a by-the-numbers thriller, quote-unquote.
It's weird because it manages to both be like a really generic action movie with some pretty fun chase scenes, but also the most complicated plot in one of those movies that, like, unnecessarily complicated.
Right. I mean,
everybody has 4 motives.
Yeah, it's very much like, we invented a thing, someone bad wants to use a thing, and there are some fun chase moments.
I also have to say, why is Keanu Reeves the star of that movie? Why is he the machinist who figures out how to do the thing when she is the physicist?
Yeah.
She should be the star of the movie.
Yeah.
She should be the one who discovered the thing. But he's like, I make machines.
Yeah.
What do you say, Eddie? 20 minutes before it blows?
Maybe less. Is he right? I'm afraid he is.
Well done, Eddie. Well done.
She was next in Miranda Fox's Stealing Beauty, where she kind of has received this label of being an English Rose.
Yeah.
Which I think, like, when I think of that label, I think of her, I think of Kate Winslet. It's usually applied to, I think, actresses who kind of have that softness.
Right.
Who look very delicate. Marion Cotillard also kind of has that vibe. But I don't think Rachel Weisz is much of a English Rose. I think she's a little too freaky deaky to be an English Rose.
You know, and I also have to say, it is really impressive that her like, second big movie would be a Bernardo Bertolucci film. Bernardo Bertolucci, who just passed away this past November. A very famous director. And so just, I don't know, I think it's kind of interesting. Though, he is on the outs because he basically filmed a rape in Last Tango in Paris. But whatever.
Ooh.
Well,
okay, bye. I watched her next movie, 1997's Swept from the Sea, which was super basic. I thought. I was like, literally, I think in my notes, I wrote, like, Rachel plays some basic bitch. Her parents hate her because she's basic.
Well, that's, you know what annoys me about that movie? So Swept from the Sea is also named after her character in some other countries. It doesn't carry the name Swept from the Sea. It carries the name Amy Foster. So ostensibly it's a film about her, but it's not.
It's not.
In fact, if anything, it's this film that's lightly about this homoerotic relationship between Vincent Perez and Ian McKellen, which is the more interesting story happening in that movie. But essentially in that film, it's a town in England, and a foreigner washes ashore from Russia with all these other men who die. He's the only one to survive.
He's the only one.
And the town hates him because he's a foreigner.
This is
The sea. The ancient sea. The dark sea. Cruel sea. That's where you came from.
never saw such a thing. Only remember blackness and wind and the crying of children.
It's where all the hearts of the earth that have been lost to love and to fear lie waiting to be reborn.
Don't watch this movie. It's fine.
I think I would say it's okay to watch the movie. Say, I'm going to disagree with you. I don't think it's a waste of time, but I think there's a much more interesting read on it. Plus, anything Kathy Bates is in, I'll give. Even for like the 4 scenes that she's in.
Her real big debut breakthrough into Hollywood is in 1999, and she co-stars with Brendan Fraser in The Mummy in 1999. This is a huge movie.
Oh, yeah.
Huge.
Absolutely huge.
It's disrespectful that they tried remaking The Mummy when we have a perfectly good Mummy already.
Exactly. We've got one. It's good.
Yeah.
It's fine. We don't need anything else. Like, we ignore the sequels, but we'll...
I mean, even, like, the remake is worse than the sequels. Like,
yeah. I actually fully agree with that. I would rather watch The Scorpion King than watch the Tom Cruise The Mummy.
I would rather watch Maria Bello taking over as Rachel Weisz than watch Tom Cruise in The Mummy.
The thing I like about The Mummy, and I've seen her talk in interviews, and it's really interesting if you can watch her stance change if the interviewer says something bad about The Mummy before she gets a chance to. Because if the interviewer says something bad about The Mummy, she goes on defense mode.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, it's a fun movie. I had fun. It was a good script. It was different. if the interviewer doesn't say something bad, she says,
I was in my 20s, so I was in that phase of just any job was a really great job. But that script was, I loved it. As soon as I read it, I loved it. It reminded me, it was self-consciously B-movie. It was making a joke out of its B-moviness. And I used to watch with my mum in England on Saturday mornings. They used to have like Saturday morning kind of adventure, black and white like half-hour thing, like Zorro, and I can't remember the names of all of them, but it was just, swashbuckling stuff, and I'd watched so many of those kinds of things as a child. When I read it, I felt like I knew the tone of it, that I knew the tone that this heroine would have. Yeah, and I love the fact she's sort of feisty. I sort of felt like she was stuck in the wrong genre because she was a librarian in an action movie, which just seemed like kind of very brilliant and wild.
I think it's fun. I do think it's fun. I've rewatched it. I rewatched it this summer with a bunch of friends, and I was like, I can't hate this. It's bad in parts, but like just
it is quintessential popcorn fun.
Yeah,
and like summer movies should be like The Mummy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's silly. It's funny. It's big personalities.
I mean, I don't even think we have to really dive into the plot. She's like a badass librarian who hooks up with an adventurer played by Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
They accidentally bring a mummy back to life and they gotta stop him.
What else do you need?
Exactly.
Hollywood. It was in this movie when I rewatched it for this episode, and I was like, oh man, like she's fully giving you the like broad, silly, like theater girl, and I was like, yeah, this is she's especially considering she's doing this after doing Swept from the Sea and like these kind of like very theatrical like longing. This
is stuffy, costumey dramas.
Yeah, this is like already showing us her range.
Her range. And that intro sequence where she knocks over the
library books. Yeah. Yeah.
I love her so much.
I'm going to put you where you belong.
It's called acting. Ever heard of it? The next movie I saw, but maybe there was another one in there, but the next one I saw was 2001's Beautiful Creatures, which I did not like.
Yeah, Beautiful Creatures is a Danny Boyle / Guy Ritchie ripoff.
It is very that.
It's that period. It's like Train Spotting meets Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
You last saw him
Tuesday night. We'd been for dinner. We came home. Brian sat up drinking and I went to bed. I suppose I just drank too much. Well, I didn't so much go to bed as crash.
Was Mr. McMahon in a similar condition?
He was probably. I mean, I was only drinking sea breezes.
And I also just don't really like seeing Miss Weisz play idiots.
Mm-hmm.
That's maybe not her strong suit. Maybe that's her one weakness, is she's so smart and confident that it's hard to watch her play people who are not. I'm not saying it's beyond her. She was perfectly believable, but I think watching it in such a close succession to all the other movies, it made it harder for me to understand that her character was this meek and mild.
No, that's a no for me.
It's gonna be a no dog for me.
This entire early thousands time period, she kind of just like has movies coming out every year, and she kind of becomes, at least to me, like, it's that pretty woman who's like playing the like not assistant, but like the supporting woman to the guy. In 2004, she's in The Shape of Things.
Yes.
Interesting entry into her oeuvre.
So I do want to talk about that, but that's going to make me go back just a tiny bit. All throughout her entire career, she's also been working really hard on the stage. She's done a lot of stage shows. Starting in 1994, she's in Noel Coward's Design for Living. 1999, she does Suddenly Last Summer, which I would kill to see her in. She does The Shape of Things on stage. She does it both in England and in the US. She does Streetcar Named Desire in 2009.
She wins an award for that.
Yeah, she plays Blanche, which is the best role.
Yeah.
Betrayal in 2013 and Plenty in 2016. Betrayal, she does with her her current husband, Daniel Craig.
Yeah.
So, but, I found a lot of really funny interviews with her talking about American theater versus, British theater, where she talks about how...
She's like, an American theater, they clap for anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Broadway is, I'd never done it before. It's culturally different to England in that when a famous person comes onto the stage, even if it's the middle of a scene, they've come in the second act, there's a huge round of applause. So it's like, wow, it's very odd. I think in Japan people shout things out.
Really?
Every country has something different. In England we just wait to the end to clap, which seems really logical to me.
We reach for the Maltesers.
What do you do when people applaud? Do you have to wait? You just stand there in character?
You have to wait, yeah. And obviously Daniel gets a really big one.
Yeah.
I've forgotten. I mean, I didn't realise.
Again, don't clip that.
But getting back to The Shape of Things, so what happens with that is it's a play written by Neil LaBute. She goes to Neil LaBute and she's like, we should make a film.
I said to him, don't you think that this should be a film? And he said, yeah, sure. Do you want to produce it with me? And I said, okay. So it was very, and all I really did with Neil was, because the script was completely written, was I went round to meet producers with him who had some money to say, would you like to make this film with Neil and myself and the original cast? So it was a very small step into production. I didn't find the material. I didn't find the director. It was just an idea that Neil facilitated very kindly.
So that's the first time she really puts producerial agency into her own career, which I think is really cool because that's really early on.
Yeah. It's interesting. I will say Neil LaBute, controversial.
Yeah. Would I be lying if I said I think Neil LaBute is a misogynist? No. I think he is a misogynist.
He's definitely not a good person.
Yeah.
And
he's made some shitty films, but I think when he was making movies of his own work, I think some of it's been pretty good.
We discussed one of his movies on the Stanley Tucci episode.
Well, what's funny is I do think The Shape of Things is very much the, light reflection of Some Velvet Morning, which was my 1-star review of the Stanley Tucci episode.
Yeah. So that's a hard movie.
Yeah.
And that's his whole thing, though. His whole gag is like, sex and relationships is complicated.
Yeah, exactly. Women and men, we don't understand each other. It's bad.
Yeah. But overall, Shape of Things is also co-starring Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
A young Paul Rudd.
I love that movie. I have an unabashed love. I think it's perhaps Neil LaBute's last great work, both as a director and maybe as a playwright. I've read some of his plays since then. They're all right.
Shape of Things, I mean, what I will give the movie, it is super stylish.
Yeah.
It's super freaky deaky.
Yeah. And her character is... I mean, you know there's something up with her character from the first moment you see her, and that's what I think is interesting is my thing about horror movies is I think the thing that's scarier is not the jump scare, it's the scare you see coming. And she is this is not a horror movie, but she is the scare you see coming.
You're mentioned in there too, Jenny. Where? Adam's journal. I mean, it's a veiled entry, but I think it's you.
Evelyn?
I peeked twice. You're right next to someone known as Cute Waitress.
Why's that? I mean, Adam?
You're not.
Something about a meeting and a drive after and your cute little V-dub.
What are you saying?
You know
Jenny,
what? It's getting pretty late. I really need to get...
Why are you doing this?
I just want to talk about the kiss. You know, why can't we do that?
This is inappropriate, okay?
Did you tell him? No. He didn't. Philip did. We met and he told me all about it. The rest I got from Loverboy's diary.
She's making that up.
Wait, Philip told you about our talk? When? What else did he tell you?
Lots of things. He's a very chatty guy when you wind him up.
When I started watching the movie, I thought, oh no, is this going to be her Manic Pixie Dream Girl movie?
Yeah.
But nope. No, sorry, Bob.
She is the Nightmare Devil Dream Girl.
Yeah. I would definitely recommend going out and watching this movie, but just like with an asterisk that Neil LaBute is probably not a great person. And a misogynist. Yeah, so like late aughts, she kind of doesn't. In 2005 is when she's in The Constant Gardener.
Yeah,
you know, she has some other minor roles here and there, but The Constant Gardener is her big aughts role. She wins the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. This is by Fernando Mireles, and it's an adaptation of John le Carre thriller. This is the same guy who did Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. He's just like a
spy who came in from the cold.
And of course, John le Carre, who wrote this unflinching, angry story, and he really paid tribute to the people who are willing to risk their own lives to fight injustice, and they're greater men and women than I, but thank you so much. Thank you.
This movie, she's co-starring with Ralph Fiennes, and it got a lot of critical acclaim. It's a gorgeous movie. It's unlike any thriller I've seen.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't know, you can feel the love in this movie. It takes place a lot in Kenya.
Yeah.
And they fought really hard to shoot in Kenya. They started a trust for the village that they filmed in to, you know, set up sanitation areas for them and just like infrastructure for more movies to come film there.
And also they used a lot of non-actors in the film, which I also think is really brilliant.
Yeah, Fernando, the director, he was like, if it moves, shoot it. Essentially, Rachel plays a like an activist, and she's married to Ralph Fiennes, who is a British diplomat, and they move, or like he's stationed in Africa and she's with them, and she's just truly about, you know, getting aid to these poor people who live in Kenya. She truly is luminous in this role, and the movie overall is, like I said, like even comparing it to like a thriller like Chain Reaction or like that type of thriller, this is more of like a thriller of the heart.
Yeah.
Because even though there is like mystery, intrigue, murder, it's more just about like doing what's right and fighting for what you believe in, and relying on your allies and kind of overcoming, you know, greed and corporate nonsense.
Are you all right?
Yes, thanks.
You were courageous.
No, I was completely rude. It's just bad behaviour, and I...
You were impassioned.
I'm so embarrassed. Sorry.
Please don't be embarrassed.
I'm really sorry. And thanks very much. You tried to protect me.
Very feebly.
No, you weren't feeble. I just...
Anyway, it was a very dull lecture.
It was a dull lecture, but even so, I shouldn't have...
Look, can I buy you a coffee, or...
I owe you a drink.
All right, you can buy me a drink.
Come on.
Oh, I will say, I was like, she won this Oscar. Let me see who she was up against. She was up against some heavy hitters that year.
She is up against one of the most heartbreaking Oscar denials of my entire history of Oscars, which is Amy Adams for Junebug.
Yeah, Amy. I think they were the like top two people.
And I'll be honest, if I had to watch someone beat Amy Adams, I'm fine with it being Rachel Weisz. But like, I love Junebug.
Yeah, was that her first Oscar nomination?
Yes, that was her first big breakout, like in terms of everybody knowing who she is.
But she was also
it wasn't Smallville. Yeah,
she was up against also like Frances McDormand, even though in a like not great movie like North Country, but like it's still Frances fucking McDormand.
Yeah.
I can't remember the other nominees, but they were like big names.
Yeah.
It was not just, you know, oh, it's a weak year. It was a strong year, especially for Amy Adams, who gave like such a great performance in Junebug. So that was in 2005. In 2006, she is in The Fountain with... Which
her at the time was her husband, Darren Aronofsky, I believe.
Yeah.
So they met in 2001 when she was doing The Shape of Things backstage. And they were engaged in 2005, and they had a son who was born in 2006 in New York City. They lived in the East Village of Manhattan.
Yeah, and so...
Oh, maybe they never actually got married.
I'm not sure if they got married or not.
Yeah, I don't think they ever did.
And I think she still might live in the East Village, because... So they're not together anymore, but...
Yeah.
She says that
in 2010, they announced that they split up, and...
She has not moved because she's like, Darren lives right down the street.
Yeah.
And so they raised their kid together. But she said that she was cast really late in the game because The Fountain took forever to make. Warner Brothers shut down production because the budget was insane. Years later, he had to remake the movie, but with like only $30 million or something.
Yeah.
Only. But like, you know,
I know. Boo-hoo.
Boo-hoo. But like, but also when you see this movie, it's like, oh, this movie is lots of graphics and like high concept. I mean, it's Darren Aronofsky. He's trying to like be like really heady with all that shit.
I know people who love that movie. I do not. I'll be honest.
I think she's good in it for like literally the third where she's Queen Isabel. I think her as the cancer one, I was like, her and Hugh Jackman just are not it for me.
Yeah. What is that?
They are not.
Why do they not have chemistry?
It is.
And like, it's supposed to be an eternal love story movie.
Yeah. And I do not. And it might just be because Hugh Jackman's character is so unlikable.
Yeah.
Especially as like, so The Fountain is like 3 different stories, but it's like maybe the same person who wants to live forever. The Fountain is a play on like The Fountain of the Youth. And it's funny because that's one of the few movies that I saw where I was like, oh no, I don't like her in this.
But the thing is, after that, she's gone on to work with several other directors who are really great. I mean, she does Aragon, less said about that, the better. But, you know, she does Wong Kar-wai's My Blueberry Nights, which is not my favorite Wong Kar-wai, but she's really good in it. She does The Brothers Bloom in 2008 for Rian Johnson, which is a lot of fun. I don't know if you got a chance to...
Literally, My Blueberry Nights and The Brothers Bloom are 2 of the movies that I did not watch.
The Brothers Bloom, I really think is fun, and I like... One of the things I like about her character in The Brothers Bloom is she is sort of so... And I've heard her talk about this in interviews. She's sort of humorless. She's sort of the straight man to the comedy that's going on. Not that it's a full-on comedy, but it's got its comedic moments.
I decided this wasn't a story about a miserable girl. This was a story about a girl who could find infinite beauty in anything. Any little thing. And I told myself this story until it became true. Now, did doing this help me escape a wasted life? Or did it blind me so I wouldn't want to escape it? I don't know. But either way, I was the one telling my own story, so... No, I don't feel cheated at all.
In 2009, she does this really weird, like, Spanish co-production called Agora, where she plays Hypatia of Alexandria. Hypatia, thank you. Yeah. It is...
That was...
not good, but Alejandro Amenabar, I love the, like, guts this man has.
Audacity.
Because he basically makes a 2-hour and 10-minute film that's like an ancient Rome science lesson.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But at the same time, like, there's a 15-minute scene where she explains that the sun goes around the earth. In this movie where people are cutting each other's heads off, and she's like handing Oscar Isaac her period blood as, like, you know, she plays this very important woman. She really is important to our history.
Yeah. She's a philosopher.
She's a philosopher, and it's during the time in which Rome has a lot of infighting because it's the switch between the old gods and Christianity coming in.
The Roman Empire is basically falling,
and everybody's acting like a zealot, like so everybody's busy cutting each other's heads off. And she's celibate. She's a philosopher. And she just really wants to discover this one thing. And eventually, obviously, she's a woman who's smart, so she's going to get fucking killed in the end.
I'll say, I like the movie more than you did. So Hypatia was a real woman.
Yeah.
And a lot of the characters in the movie are real. But for me, what I got was like, it doesn't matter what you believe in, or whoever's in power will eventually always be corrupt. And like, because she is even like a benevolent, you know, a slave owner, you know?
Yeah.
But in the end, it's kind of like The Favorite. In the end, you're not in power, Haney. It doesn't matter how much they like you or not.
Right.
Like, you are their property.
Right.
And so it doesn't matter if it's like the Romans who are in charge, or the Christians in charge, or like the Jews are in charge. It doesn't fucking matter, because in the end, y'all are fucking killing each other and fighting over like who gets to like own shit.
Hypatia. Don't you see? I can't go on without you. I can't. Without you, I can't defeat Cyril.
Oh, Orestes. Cyril has already
It's funny, like, her career is a lot of ladies who are, like, figuring shit out, doing the thing, and, like, fighting for justice. In 2011, she's in The Deep Blue Sea, which was just, like, also a very luxurious kind of, I don't know, like, meditative movie with Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah. Fresh off of Thor, or around the same time with Thor. So not a lot of non-Wallander fans knew who he was.
It's a gorgeous movie.
Yeah.
And I think she won, like, the New York Critics Best Actress Award. She was, like, on the long list for an Oscar. Didn't happen. She didn't get nominated. But, you know, it's around this time when you kind of see that she's taking less and less of the, like, kind of whatever side girl moments.
It's less about being sort of an extra in her own films, like Swept from the Sea, and more about being sort of the focal point.
But also just, like, being super interesting women. You know, in The Deep Blue Sea, she literally plays a woman who is finding her sexuality and pleasure, and the whole movie is about, like, pleasure and what the lengths you'll go to get pleasure. In 2011, she's in Dreamhouse with her current husband,
Daniel Craig,
Mr. James Bond himself.
Do you know what you can buy? I've actually got one of those like screen visor things that you put up at the top that say Mrs. Daniel Craig. You know those things you put, so you can buy them, and you can. I've got one.
No, wait a minute. You drive a car that says Mrs. Daniel Craig.
I don't put to keep it up all the time, but just now and again, you know those sort of see-through.
Yeah.
What's the technical word?
I've got a good idea. You have the screen visor, and I'll have Daniel.
It's weird because around this time she kind of swings back into big blockbusters. She's in Oz the Great and Powerful, which that movie
I hope she enjoys The House It Bought Her.
Yeah, that movie is trash. That movie was made to sell things.
Yeah.
At Hot
things
Topic.
that no one wanted.
And what's wild is she's the best part of that movie.
She is.
Because
that's not saying much.
But because she's the only one who's actually making, like, choices.
Yeah. It's weird. I want to talk about this a little later, but there's some weirdness, In
2015, she's in Paolo Sorrentino's Youth, which I thought was beautiful. She's in Yorgos Lanthimos' The Lobster, which is so fucking weird and so fucking cool. Like, if you needed proof that Rachel Weisz is that freak bitch, like, literally just look at the work she's been doing the last 5 years, where I feel like she finally has this full agency where she's just like, you know what? I am going to make those weird movies. I'm going to produce those weird movies in 2016.
And what's great is a lot of these directors, too, and I've seen her mention this before, a lot of these directors she's written to herself.
I've done it for quite a long time, and sometimes it will end up that you end up working with the person, but mostly not. But I think people don't seem to mind receiving letters of admiration. So I think it's kind of win-win. It doesn't. I've expressed admiration for directors and ended up never meeting them or never working with them. But Yorgos, I saw Dogtooth, and then I ended up meeting him. He was living in London, and we went out for coffee, and I said how much I wanted to work with him, and he said, "Well, I'm writing something at the moment. I'll send it to you," and that was Lobster. So that's how it started. So I think it's lovely to reach out to people that you admire. Yeah,
it's so fucking cool. In 2016, she is in Complete Unknown, which she also produced.
Yes,
a weird little movie with Michael Shannon.
Yes, it's a movie I mostly liked. I think the opening montage unfortunately sets it up for failure because it's so good. It's this movie where she I don't want to say she's a con woman because you don't really get the idea that she's taking money from people, but she's a woman who basically rewrites her own life every couple of years. Yeah. She just abandons her life, becomes someone else, and she's decided to go back and meet, see an old boyfriend of hers and his life. And what's the problem it has is I think the plot really runs out of steam. Like, there's some choices in the middle of the movie that I think are so fucking bonkers. On top of that, Michael Shannon is a really, really great actor. The role was too normal for him.
Yeah.
He's too interesting of an actor to play this sort of boring milquetoast. Well, I think that should have been more of like an everyman sort of guy, and Michael Shannon's not it. I was moderately disappointed, but I think it's worth a watch.
Yeah. Then you get Denial.
Yeah.
By Mick Jackson.
Denial is another movie that I felt very similar to Agora, where it's a movie I liked, but also I think was a more interesting lesson than it was a drama. And that's not to insult anybody who's in it or the filmmaker who made it. I just think I think there's a lot of scenes in it that are very prescient to what's happening right now. I see a lot of... Denial is a movie about... She plays a Holocaust historian who gets accused of libel because she says this really disgusting Holocaust denier is lying to people. Yeah. And so he brings her to trial in England where the burden of proof is on the accused, not the accuser, like the American justice system.
Right.
And
so essentially she has to prove that the Holocaust
actually happened. Everybody's so fucking good in that movie, but
everyone is very good in that movie. And again, so interesting, like, this is probably one of those movies where it's like she's playing a very Jewish woman.
Yeah.
An American Jewish woman.
And a real person. So she has that person to actually talk to and get the sense of.
Yeah, she's a professor in Atlanta, who I think, though, is from the Bronx or Queens. And so she has a very New York Jewish accent. And every time Rachel does an accent, I just think it makes me laugh a little bit.
Yeah.
Not like she's not doing a bad job.
No, but I know
it makes me laugh because she's committing so hard to it, and it's a full character choice.
He came with a chisel.
That's right.
And he hacked away.
Correct.
Illegally, without any permission from the authorities. And then he smuggled the pieces out of Poland in his suitcase, wrapped in his dirty underwear.
Be that as it may, we can criticize his methods, but it's his conclusions we have to discredit.
But to get really serious, you see a lot of those tactics used by that awful human being, used by certain members of the conservative media and movements nowadays. And so I do think it's a really important movie to watch. I just don't... The unfortunate thing is if that movie was made as a documentary, not as many people would see it.
Right.
But it would have made a better documentary than it does a dramatic film.
Yeah. But I think because there's, like I said, the drama doesn't feel so... You're right. I think with the context of, like, a lot of different things, including what's going on now, it would have been more all-encompassing. But I'll have to say, if it's not a bad movie. Then she comes out in Disobedience by Sebastian Lelio.
Yeah, another director she wrote to.
Yeah, and it's another cool movie where she's playing an interesting character who, another Jewish character.
Yeah.
This is essentially the lesbian Jewish movie that we all kind of heard about. It's on Amazon Prime right now if you want to watch it. She plays Ranit, who's estranged from her Orthodox Jewish family, and after her father dies, she goes back and she meets up with some old friends, including Rachel McAdams' character, Esty, who they hint that they had a sexual relationship as teens, I guess, if you will. Esty's married their other best friend, Dovid, and they kind of have like a very plain, traditional Orthodox life. And the movie, I think, is too much of a slow burn. I think Rachel has one very good scene when she's having dinner with the rest of the Jewish family.
I agree. I think it's a good movie. I don't love that movie.
Yeah, I think every time you want it to like keep going, it kind of like backs off the brakes.
Yeah.
Or I wanted it to get somewhere faster, or at least like turn it up throughout a little bit more.
Though, let me tell you, when they spit in each other's mouths,
I will say, they had there is that.
I never want to be that male gazy sort of guy, but the Rachel Weisz is so my type that it just yeah.
I mean, once the movie does start get going, I'm like, oh, this is the spark that I've been like waiting for. I think it plays a little bit too safe at the beginning and all that, but it's an interesting, it's another interesting performance, interesting movie, and leading up to The Favorite.
as we mentioned, out now.
Mm-hmm.
Yorgos Lanthimos. She just won the BAFTA for it. She's very tired. She also, as a cast, they won a Gotham Award. And I love the way she ended her Gotham Award speech, where she said...
And also, I hope that one day soon, in the not-so-distant future, we don't get asked what was it like to share the screen with other women, because I don't think you ever ask men that, but I could be wrong. Thank you.
We don't even really need to talk about The Favorite that much, but it's out now. Go see it. It's a movie in which her and Emma Stone are vying for the affections of Queen, played by Olivia Colman, who is absolutely amazing and is winning awards left and right and deserves all those awards she's winning as well. Rachel Weisz wears a lot of pants in the movie, and
come on, pants.
Come on, pants.
I just want to talk a little bit about not her personal life, but just outside. She has said in an interview in Harper's Bazaar that Botox should be banned for actors, as steroids are for sportsmen. Acting is all about expression. Why would you want to iron out a frown? Which icon, queen.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you see her now, she does look like she's aged. She doesn't look super. I mean, she's still gorgeous, but I was like, oh wow, she does look like a more middle-aged, older woman. And amen, bravo.
She has 2 kids, as we mentioned. She has a son with Darren Aronofsky, and she has a daughter with Daniel Craig. She's currently married to Daniel Craig. They got married in 2011, I want to say.
Yeah.
In a very small ceremony.
Yeah, and she has become a naturalized U.S. citizen.
Yes, as of the same year, correct? 2011?
Yep.
Also, just real quick before we move into our picks, because we really should get into our picks. She supports a lot of charities and foundations. She's a member of the African Rainforest Conservancy, Cancer Research UK, Constant Gardener Trust, Only Make Believe, Pediatric Epilepsy Project, Small Steps Project, and Worldwide Orphans Foundation. So she's got her hand in a lot of charitable causes. And as we mentioned every episode, it's important to mention what privileged people are putting their money towards, because a lot of the times the things that you're hearing about these people is about who they're dating or who, what they're doing, what they're buying. And it's always nice to have a reminder that most of these people are giving back and giving back largely.
Yeah. And I truly, after I watched The Constant Gardener, I was just so blown away at their love of this movie. And literally the patrons of the Constant Gardener Trust are her, Ray Fiennes, John Le Carre, and Fernando Mireles, the director of the movie. And they literally are just we're going to leave some money here and keep leaving money here so that this country and neighborhood that really supported us in this filmmaking process can, take their money and do good for themselves and, hopefully attract more filmmakers to come make movies there and just provide infrastructure for whatever they need, which I think is so fucking cool.
So, that being said, I think it's time we move into our picks.
Let's do our 1-star reviews.
Okay. I'm going to go first, because I rarely ever go first for the 1-star reviews, because I'm always scared that you're going to pick something that I picked. But I just hate this movie so much that So I picked 2013's Oz the Great and Powerful.
Amazing. Yeah. Amen. Bless.
She plays Evanora, who's the Wicked Witch of the East, but she's secretly really the Wicked Witch. She is getting all of her machinations together. Her sister played
poor
by Mila Kunis, whom I love, who she turns into the Wicked Witch of the West by feeding her a poison apple, which is Snow White, honey.
Right.
Check yourself.
Mila Kunis, who's we love, we celebrate. Miscast.
And
she does not have the range.
No, the worst performance of the film. And this is a movie with James Franco.
That's saying a lot. And also, whoever was this, the designers on this movie was iconic Wicked Witch of the West. The green, the hat, the nose, what shall we do? When they finally reveal what she looks like, I was like, is this a joke?
Yeah.
Is this what they decided on?
Yep.
Cannot believe. They did her no favors.
So just a very, very brief, Oz is a con man who has to go up in a balloon to get away from a strong man that he's been fucking the wife of, and he goes up, gets trapped in Oz, it cons his way into everything. They all think he's this magical wizard. He's not, has to, because all of these weird, like, Disney, Alice in Wonderland-esque movies have to have a war.
Yeah.
There's a war that goes on between the witches. You have, as I mentioned, Rachel Weisz playing Evanora, the Wicked Witch of the East. You have Mila Kunis playing the Wicked Witch of the West. You have Michelle Williams playing Glinda. And, like, really just...
doing nothing.
Yeah, literally, I don't know if she was just like, I just played Marilyn Monroe. Yeah. I can do it again.
Snooze City.
Yeah, and everybody feels bored. Literally, there's a showdown between Glinda and Rachel Weisz, and you're right. You're 100% right. Rachel Weisz is giving the best performance in the movie. It's still a bad performance.
Yeah.
There's a scene where she shoots electricity out of her hands and she's fighting Glinda, and they're like shit talking to each other about the bubbles and everything.
Yeah.
You and I aren't finished yet.
You have the throne, Glinda. What more could you want?
You can't give me that. You took what mattered most to me. My father. I'll never again feel the comfort of his kindness. But I'll settle for the freedom of his people.
Of course, Glinda. I think at the very least they deserve that.
What's the matter, Glinda? Out of bubbles?
Don't need them. Bubbles are just for show.
And honestly, she looks like she would rather be napping.
Yeah.
Rachel Weisz, what are you doing? And once again, I hope she bought a house with this money.
She bought the building in the village.
And her big secret is that she has a ruby around her neck. When smashed, she turns into an ugly hag. The worst thing you could possibly be is ugly in this world.
Yeah.
I don't...
The movie's beyond...
It's so boring, too. It's, for a movie that's that designed...
It's boring.
So boring.
Isn't like the lesson to be learned something like, I may not be magical, but we all have our own kind of magic, and his magic is like tricking people.
It's that he's a fucking liar.
And so like he's able to like trick the witches into like, oh, they're fighting, but those aren't people. It's straw men. And
it's scarecrows.
I'm so clever.
Get it?
Yeah, and I'm so clever with like my machine that makes me a big floating head.
Right.
And like fireworks.
And he like, for some reason, ends up with Glinda at the end.
That's like the worst part, because you know that like some executive was like, what if he like makes out with like, because at the end he gives every one of his little like minions something. Right. And he's like, I'll give it to you backstage. And, like, literally, he's behind the curtain making out with Glinda. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
For who?
And it was clearly a film that was intended to set up, like, a series of movies. That this was going to be the first. It's a big trilogy. And it drives me even crazier, the fact that it's a Sam Raimi film. And there are some hallmarks of Sam Raimi. There's some, like, sharp zooms and, like, some very cartoony stuff that happen in it that feel very Raimi-esque. But it's a soulless venture even on his part.
Yeah, it's it has about as much charisma as Spider-Man 3 does, okay?
Yeah, when Sam Raimi's bad, he's real bad.
Real bad.
But yeah, I don't even want to talk about this movie anymore, so Louie, what's your 1-star review?
My 1-star review comes from the same time period as Oz and the Great and Powerful. Mine is 2011's Dreamhouse.
Oh!
And it's funny because, like I mentioned earlier, she is very not good, I thought, in The Fountain, which she made with her then partner, Darren Aronofsky. And in this movie, Dreamhouse, she makes co-stars with Daniel Craig, her current husband.
Yeah.
And so maybe it's just like her working with the men she's like sleeping with that really just does not do it for me. Dreamhouse, you didn't watch it, right?
Yeah, so, there's so many movies, and I really prioritized some of the earlier ones because I hadn't seen a lot of them, and so I did miss it, and I know I should have because she is married to Daniel Craig, but also my favorite memory of Dreamhouse is the twist was spoiled in the trailer, which I've never seen before. Yeah. I'll let you continue, but the whole like thing about like that
it's ghosts.
Yeah,
they're ghosts.
Yeah.
They told me that you're not really here.
What?
You and the girls are dead. Did I do it?
It's in the trailer.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So the movie tries very hard to be this twisty thriller, but it just like kind of lands with a big like boom, like, oh, this is dumb. Okay, cool. Daniel Craig is the main character. I didn't write down his name, but it's Daniel Craig, and he, you know, him and his wife, Rachel Weisz, and they have 2 daughters. They move into this new house. He's like, the movie sets it up where they're leaving the city, moving into this house, and they're patching it up, and like they're gonna start this brand new life in the suburbs, and like, oh, what fun. Except, kids are, and like, people keep looking at them weird, and like, oh, you know, did you know that someone murdered, his entire family in this house? And the movie's trying to set you up thinking that like, there is a murderer who's coming back to this house.
Right.
And he has gotten out of asylum.
I just knew we shouldn't have moved out of the city.
Baby, don't say that.
I knew that this wasn't going to last.
What?
This! There's something wrong with this house.
No, baby, there isn't. We'll do whatever it takes, okay? We'll hire a priest.
Hire a priest? Where'd you do that?
Well, it's a whole witch doctor, whatever. I don't know. We'll feng shui the place. It's our house. There's joy in this house.
It turns out that, oh, Daniel Craig is actually that fucking dude.
Yeah.
Daniel Craig is the murderer.
Yeah.
Or alleged murderer.
Yeah.
Also, across the street, what's her name is in this movie? Australian? No, Naomi Watts.
Naomi Watts,
Naomi
yes.
Watts is like across the street, like literally like looking out her window, like very creepily, and you're like, Naomi, what the fuck are you doing? Here's the
She's like, Nicole's not pretending Nicole's.
Yeah, it's very that.
Like, so.
I mean, the tragedy of this movie is just that, you know, all of it. It's just so dumb.
Literally, the trailers tell you. Seriously, and I'm not even joking. Like, go watch the trailer.
Everyone go watch the trailer, report back. So essentially, and he's like, no, I don't believe you. I didn't kill my family. Oh. And he keeps coming back home, and his like family is there, and he's like, are you real? And they're like, what? You're scaring us. They're not real. It's all a mess, and Rachel's not good in it. Very not good.
Yeah.
No. It's a no, dog.
Were there any others that you saw that, cause I mean, there's a bunch in there. We've talked about Beautiful Creatures. I do want to say I watched one today, and I would give it to her if she appeared in more than one scene, because it's truly an awful performance. It's also early on in her career, so I'll forgive it as well. But 1997's Going All the Way, which is a film directed by Mark Pellington. It stars Jeremy Davies, who should have a better career, and Ben Affleck 1 year before Good Will Hunting.
Wow.
Yeah. And he meets Rachel Weisz in a art gallery, and she's like an upper class, but she's doing the Marilyn Monroe baby talk. Like,
hate it.
It's so bad.
Yeah, Marty was at Shortly. She was a couple years behind us.
Yeah, I went to Shortly too, but I don't think we actually met. But then we wouldn't have. You being a big rod and all. Isn't that what they called you, golden boys?
Well, you know, that was high school.
And college too. DePaul, wasn't it? Football star, big man on campus, BMOC.
I can't really...
She's not. Yeah. I can I also just say sometimes she'll do like various American accents.
Yeah.
In Dreamhouse, she does maybe the most bizarre American accent. Because sometimes, you know, like definitely maybe she's great. And like, I believe her. In Dreamhouse, it's fully just, I don't know, affected suburban, not good. Other things I didn't like. I don't know. I guess we mentioned all. Beautiful Creatures was my other. I mean, Oz for sure. Beautiful Creatures for sure. I didn't like Definitely Maybe, but I think she's great in it. Everything else, you know, I was really. I mean, so From the Sea, they don't give her a lot to do. Just be boring.
So maybe it's time then we move into our 5-star reviews.
Love that.
we mentioned my 5-star review already, but for all of the interesting sort of wild and out there characters she plays, my favorite performance that I've seen her do was in 2011's The Deep Blue Sea. I think perhaps maybe because... Yeah, I know.
I am a little bit surprised.
I figured you would be.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did. I really love the movie Brief Encounter. This is very much a companion piece to the film Brief Encounter, which is a David Lean, Noel Coward film. And so Deep Blue Sea set in the 1950s, as you mentioned, it's about a woman. She's having an affair with an RAF pilot who had like a huge World War II experience. She's married to a judge who's an older man, slightly effeminate, like kind of some gay overtones, who's like way more in love with his mom than he should be.
Right.
But it's clear she has feelings for this man and is in love with him, and he just doesn't reciprocate it in the physical sort of way. And what I think is interesting about this character, and I said this, it's like Brief Encounter if the main character was allowed to be passionate about her dissatisfaction with life.
Yeah.
And the film starts with a suicide attempt, and it's based on a play from the 50s. It's a Terrence Rattigan play. And what's really funny is Terrence Davies directed it, but it was done for Terrence Rattigan's centennial. So when you watch the movie, it starts with Rachel Weisz and Tom Hiddleston's name, and then it says a Terrence Rattigan film. And I love the fact that he did that. It's just such a nice touch. But so, as I mentioned, it even begins in a dreamy sort of way. It's like, it's sometime in the 1950s. And yeah, she's attempting suicide because, she's in love with this judge who can't physically reciprocate, love to her. And she's in love physically with Tom Hiddleston's character, with a man who will never love her and never appreciate her.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's so many good scenes. There's so many amazing moments in it. A lot of it's wordless. There's a slow dance in it, that I unexpectedly physically reacted to. I got chills up my arm and my heart was racing, and they're just fucking slow dancing.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're so sexy together. They have such charisma. I've never been a woo Tom Hiddleston person, but this put me on the Tom Hiddleston train. It's like, yes, correct.
The sex scene with them is very hot.
Yeah.
Like this is sexy.
Yeah. I was like,
sexy can I?
Hello. Both of you can call me on your rotary phones from the 1950s. But
she has had a taste.
Yeah.
And she is not going back.
Right. And that's really, she wants what she can't have from both of these people.
One can't go on living on a flat plane. Not after discovering something more
primitive.
Shall we say natural?
In sober truth, Hester, isn't it lust?
Oh, Bill. Do you honestly think I can tell you in sober truth what it is I feel for Freddie? Lust isn't the whole of life, but Freddie is, you see, for me, the whole of life. And death. So, put a label on that if you can.
It's also like a really breezy 90 minutes, which I also was like, I was like, how does this movie, because they could have drugged this shit on for 2.5 hours, and they don't. And yeah, it's just really beautiful. Everything's got this golden hue to it. She's really, she inhabits this character in a way that knowing nothing of her real personal life, like what goes on inside Rachel Weisz's head, she found the connection to this character and really like wrung it out.
Yeah, she's driven by pleasure.
Yeah.
And there's like a really great scene where she's at her husband's mom's house.
Oh my God.
And they're just like sniping at each other. And she's asking her like, the mother-in-law is like, better be careful with pleasure. You could, I much prefer guarded optimism, or maybe she does something like that. And Rachel's like, yeah, that's fine. Much more dull, though. And she fully, that's where you really get the sense that she she really has had a taste of pleasure, and she's not going to go back. And whatever it takes, including she gives up a cushy life with this guy to live in like this shitty apartment. This guy who does not have money.
Yeah.
Literally all he's got is that dick.
And she's clearly, I mean, by today's standards, depressed.
Oh, 10,000%.
There's at least 3 suicide attempts in the film.
And what I think the most amazing thing about this movie, though, is she has a conversation with her husband, and she's like, the men are supposed to want to have sex.
Yeah.
And I need that from you. And he's like shook.
Yeah.
And you can tell he loves her. He and
I think part of her loves him, or at least the way she's playing it.
Yeah. She's never cruel.
Yeah.
She,
not to him.
No.
Yeah.
I think she just does not want to give this up. You know, she's felt something that in her life, and she's like, how can I go back? How can I go back to the way things were before? And I think she is depressed because that's not going to happen, you know?
Yeah.
She knows that Tom Hiddleston's character is going to leave and never take care of her. And she's mortified. She's like, how can I not have this thing that I love, this pleasure? And he doesn't want me back. What the fuck is that?
Right.
You know, like reconciling, pleasure and commitment, you know, like, and that sometimes that they do not go hand in hand. She is shook.
Yeah.
And
especially in a time and in a place where you're told that that's all you have out of life, especially being a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read that the playwright, he wrote this as an allegory of being gay and closeted.
Yeah.
And I get it, sis.
Yeah.
You know?
And I mean, Terrence Davies as well, the director. So yeah, I'm very much in love with Terrence Davies' direction and style and her performance in that movie. It's funny. So, real quick, he saw her in Swept from the Sea. And called his agent and was like, do you know who Rachel Weisz is? His agent was like, she's a fucking Oscar winner.
Yeah, I know she is.
Yeah, so that was what made him cast her. So yeah.
Excellent pick, Gavin.
Why, thank you.
My pick, I was racking my brain backward and forward. I was like, what is it? And I was like, Louie, just stop. Look in front of you. The answer is clear. It's basic, but God, I love The Favorite so much.
I do think there's something about Yorgos's direction of her that brings a particular type of performance out of her, because I also think she's really brilliant in The Lobster.
The Lobster
as well.
is so good. If you remember, it was either like last episode or 2 episodes ago when I was like, don't talk to me about The Lobster.
Yeah.
Because literally, I went and saw that by myself when I was living in San Francisco, fresh off a breakup. And I saw The Lobster, and I was like, I need to call my ex right now. And I fully, like, reignited a relationship because I was like, oh my God, like, being single and, like, together, and, like, that movie fucked me all the way up.
Yeah.
Okay?
I don't want to have to become a lobster. I get it.
Right. Because that's not my pick, so I'm not gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
But The Favorite, God, I said this as soon as I walked out of the theater, I was like, I have never seen 3 women having more fun making a movie. You can just tell the pant work. Amazing. The makeup, the wigs, everything. And just, God, the scene where she fully grabs Queen Anne by the neck and puts her up against the wall and is basically like, bitch, I know what games you're playing and I'm here to tell you I am that bitch.
Right.
It's incredible.
And what's great about that is Queen Anne fucking down for it.
Yeah, and Queen Anne is like, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you saucy little minx.
Yeah.
It is so good. And just like all of her line readings in this movie, when she says, let's go shoot things. Incredible.
I am a person of honor, even if my station is not. Even if I were the last one left in this wretched place, I would remain a lady.
You're pretty when outraged. So my secrets are safe with you?
All of them. Good. Even your biggest secret.
Abigail? If you forget to load the pellet, the gun fires, makes a sound, but releases no shot. It is a great jape, do you agree?
Yes.
Maybe we will think of a use for it one day. Sometimes it is hard to remember whether you have loaded the pellet or not. I do fear confusion and accidents.
I'm sure people will be careful.
Because it's out now, and we do want people to see it. But just to give you sort of a
should we tell them what the favorite is?
Well, yeah. She plays Sarah Churchill, who's basically the Queen's closest advisor. Her husband is out leading the army. He's a bit of a fop.
Yeah.
And her cousin shows up, played by
Emma Stone.
And at first, Abigail, that's the cousin, is basically like, like treated like a servant and everything. And
Lady Sarah's like, fine, I guess we'll let you like work in the like slave quarters. And so she has the favor and ear of the Queen.
Right.
She is speaking for her in official capacity, in meetings,
feeding her information, and
really manipulating her for what she wants and for her gain. But she definitely does care for Anne.
Yeah.
The gag of the movie is that Abigail, sneaky little snake, she sees what's going on and she starts wondering, if I can start currying favor with the Queen, maybe then I can rise in the ranks and not be just a peasant girl. And so she does. She sneaks her way in. She marries a guy above her status that elevates her to status, and she kind of becomes like Queen Anne's little plaything, where they, she's giving her compliments, asking her questions. She's Queen Anne, who is bored in life, essentially. She has had 17 miscarriages.
Yeah. Oh my God. When she says that in the movie, it's just like, and what's funny is, Yorgos is not a tug on your heartstrings type guy.
It's a matter of fact.
But that hurts when you hear it in the movie. Well, because that's Olivia Colman. That's,
Yeah, well, because so at first you're like, what a ridiculous woman. She has 17 rabbits just around in her room making a fucking mess. It's disgusting. And then she tells you like, oh, well, and also she wants Lady Sarah to talk to the rabbits.
Right.
And Lady Sarah's like, don't be fucking ridiculous. Like, I'm not going to do that.
Well, and that's the other facet of Rachel Weisz's performance as well, is her personification of Sarah Churchill is very practical and so she doesn't have time for mimsy whimsy flopsy dopsy doodah. She's like, I know what I want, and I'm gonna take it, and you're gonna give it to me.
Right.
And that's not who Abigail is.
Yeah. Well, so they have a different view on what love is.
Yeah.
And how that should be expressed. I think the movie, I love the movie. Emma Stone is also so fucking ridiculous.
She really is. Yeah. And she's great too. And she deserves, I know she's not getting as much awards accolades.
But she should.
But yeah, she is equally.
In my mind, I think Emma Stone's character is the actual lead, and I think the other two parts are supporting. They're all amazing.
I want them all to be leads, but whatever. Category fraud's not my business. So.
Right. I just think because she has the most like arc.
Yeah.
Like the story is revolving around her and her like machinations.
Yeah.
But God, literally pick any scene, any of the lines that Rachel has, and it's just like dripping with like suave and just like she has just so much gravitas. Like she carries off this woman to a T. Her scheming, her playfulness with the Queen, when the Queen is like jealous of her dancing with Taylor Swift's boyfriend, and she wheels her off.
Is that what we're calling him now?
I don't know his name.
Nor should any of us.
Right. It's just Taylor Swift's boyfriend. Yeah, I mean, everyone loves The Favorite. I'm not saying anything new. It's amazing. And there are plenty of other great movies. What else do you want to talk about really quick?
We mentioned The Lobster. I definitely highly recommend going to go see Lobster, the Brothers Bloom. I really enjoyed that movie. It's not perfect. She's really fucking great in it. There's other things I saw that I really liked that I can't, are failing to come to me at the moment. But
my second pick, honestly, is Youth.
Oh, fucking yes.
Yeah.
I love Youth. Youth barely made, just fell right outside my top 10 2 years ago.
Yeah. It's a 2015 movie.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful, luxurious, vibrant, imaginative, kooky booky. It's the one thing that makes it for me with Rachel. Her father is Michael Caine. They're all basically like famous in some respect.
Yeah.
Rich people who are in the Swiss Alps, kind of like supposed to be relaxing and enjoying themselves, except they're all going through such terrible hardships within themselves. The movie's all about aging and like what you've done with your life, what you're going to do with your life. She's like the manager of him, and he's a composer that's very famous. They're laying down, getting massages, and she is fully bubbling over with this like frustration and anger.
Who were you? Who? That's what I always asked myself. You never gave anything. Not to her, not to me, nothing. You gave everything to your music. Music, music, music. There was nothing else in your life, only music and aridness. Never a caress, never a hug, never a kiss, nothing. You never knew anything about your children. Never knew if we were happy, if we were suffering, nothing. Everything was on Mummy's shoulders. At home, the only thing you would ever say to her were 2 words, quiet Melanie. And Mummy would explain to us, quiet, Daddy's composing. Quiet, Daddy's resting, he has a concert tonight. Quiet, Daddy's on the phone to someone important. Quiet, Daddy has Stravinsky coming to the house later tonight. You wanted to be Stravinsky, but you didn't have a single drop of his genius. Quiet, Melanie, were the only 2 things you knew how to say.
Because she so controlled the entire movie up until there, and she like spills it all out, and then just brings it all back. And the massages just continue. God, that movie's so stylish.
Yeah.
A casual, quick Paloma Faith, a casual, quick Jane Fonda.
Oh my God, the Paloma Faith thing? Yeah.
I said, is that Paloma Faith? And then literally her line is, I'm Paloma Faith.
Yes. And Jane Fonda's great. I actually think that's one of the best brief Jane Fonda performances. Paolo Sorrentino is one of my favorite current working directors, I'll be honest. And so
good.
Just watch anything by him. He did
Gorgeous.
The Young Pope. He did, The Great Beauty. Just watch his stuff.
Another great supporting role that she's in.
Absolutely. So I think that would bring us to our fast forward.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I don't really know what Rachel Weisz has upcoming.
Rachel, what's going on, girl?
What's going on, girl? Give us a call.
Girl, where do you think you're going?
I don't see anything on her future IMDb for what's coming up next. If she's taking some time off, that might be great. I've heard her talk about taking time off to raise her kids. She works when she wants to, and she's very clear about picking the projects that she likes to do.
Well, I'm not working. I've just been it's very hard. I don't know. I'm tired, but it's also extremely joyful. So it's amazing. I have a little girl, so it's a wonderful thing. But I don't have any tips for getting through over-tiredness. But it's I'm not filming anything. So yeah.
So what would you like to see from her in the future?
I mean, now that we've seen her in The Favorite, where it's a fully, it's a dramatic role, but she's so funny in it. Yeah. I'm wondering if there's any more like comedy to mine from Rachel Weisz.
I've also heard her talk about comedies, and she said she would love to do comedies, but she doesn't think she's naturally funny.
The real gag is that she can do anything she wants.
That's what's crazy, right? So the hardest thing in preparation for this episode was thinking about what I want her to do in the future. Because I was like, do I want her to do some sci-fi shit? Do I want her to do some comedy? But she's done it all. And she proves that she can mostly do it.
Yeah.
I can tell you what I don't want to see from her, but I think she's past that doing this. I don't want to see her playing any more like dumb young ingenues.
Right.
And I think she's way out of that stage anyways, but like I don't know, like seeing like Beautiful Creatures and Going All the Way and Swept from the Sea, like these movies where she lacked any sort of agency. That's what I don't want from her.
What's incredible is, she's at that age where she's not at grandma age, and she's not at, young, hot girl age.
She's 49, which is relatively young.
It is young, but in Hollywood terms, like, that is fully like the great unknown for women, right? Like, who are they supposed to be playing?
Yeah.
And most of the time the answer is moms, but, I don't
oh God, can you imagine if she went the Jennifer Garner route? And once again, and we talked about this in the Jennifer Garner episode, it seems like Jennifer Garner was playing moms from the moment she started making movies. And that's one of the nice things is like, in most films, even in films that are bad, like you mentioned Dreamhouse, she's like never playing just a mom.
Right. It seems like she's very much kind of pushed herself away from that.
Yeah.
And
which is not to say mad respect for moms, but they're
usually one-dimensional.
Yeah, the way that the Hollywood makes movies, they do not treat mothers well.
Right. And I think, just looking at the last 5 years of like Disobedience, Denial, The Lobster, The Favorite, Complete Unknown,
Youth. Yeah,
she's making very like strategic. And you know what? Fucking good for her. She's like, I'm going to go after who I want to work with.
Right.
And she has a family that she loves and cares about, and she produces what she wants to produce.
Right.
You know, she said that Complete Unknown, she's like, we had such a tiny budget. And she's playing a woman who has like different lives, all different looks. Like one is like full, like living in Japan. One who's like living in Berkeley, like different looks. She's like literally every morning, me and like the 2-person makeup team would just like throw together an identity for this person. And so I love and that is the spirit of the theater that I love about Rachel.
Yeah.
And she's not going to just rest on her looks. She's not going to just like be like, oh well, I guess because she knows whenever, Hollywood wants, fine, I'll go me pretty and dumb if I need to like pay some bills, but to truly finance these like special little gems, because man, you don't see movies like Youth a lot.
No.
You don't see movies like Disobedience a lot. And even Disobedience, I think she was a producer on also.
Yeah.
And she decided to choose that director who is
Sebastian Lelio.
Yeah, so interesting. Has a point of view.
Yeah.
Who's not exploiting women. Who's and even like her doing The Constant Gardener, like she's making such strategic, like interesting choices. I just want her to keep doing that. But I mean, if it's her going back on the stage and doing more theater work,
right? And that's maybe the one thing that I hope that she never loses her connection to, and I doubt she will. But that like weird theater route, that physical body, the way that she uses herself, I don't know. I think
it feels
that's
like
a really
she's never.
connection.
She feels like she's never like given up or forgotten that girl who went to Cambridge, and was just like, fuck the establishment. I want to do my own thing, and people took notice because not only is she beautiful, but she's so fucking talented.
Yeah.
Again, like Rachel's picking these roles that have a voice, that she wants to be heard. Like a lot of people probably don't know who Hypatia was.
Right.
But you know what? Yeah, she was like an OG feminist bitch who was like trying to teach those idiots about shit. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just have so much more respect and love for her, and I can't wait to see what she does next.
Yeah, and I can't wait either. I think she's the perfect captain of her own ship.
Oh,
so
I love that.
Yeah. So, I guess that brings us to the conclusion of the episode. We loved you, Rachel. We still love you.
We love you, Rachel. Good luck at the Oscars.
Yes, I know. Fingers crossed for you. I won't be watching, but fingers crossed for you.
Fingers crossed. Oh, she's going up against Regina King, our last.
I know.
Girl.
I know.
Fingers crossed for both of them.
Fingers crossed for both. Maybe there'll be a tie.
Ooh.
So if you enjoyed the Mixed Reviews, you can always contact us on Twitter at The Mixed Reviews.
You can also find us on Facebook.
You can also email us at reviewsmix@gmail.com.
And just listen to us wherever your heart desires.
Oh my God. We are on iTunes, we're on Stitcher, we're on Spotify, Google Play Music, iHeartMedia. If you are on iTunes, if you'd ever be so kind to leave us a 5-star review, write us a review as well. What that does is it helps other people find us, and we can all be friends.
Guys, send us more like nice notes.
Yeah, exactly. We read those ones up top, and we really enjoy getting them. We will be back in a little bit longer than 2 weeks because we have a very special guest coming up. Chris File.
Chris File of the Sad Oscar Buzz.
Yes, and he's coming on to talk about Julianne Moore.
Another smarty pants. You keep bringing smart people into your house that I am in?
Very much looking forward to that episode. He's a great guy. And also, that connects back to Sebastian Lelio. So,
my God.
Because he directed Gloria, which has now been remade as Gloria Bell.
With Julianne Moore.
With Julianne Moore, which Chris has seen.
Really?
Yeah.
Was he at Sundance?
I don't think he was at Sundance, but he's been many...
He's been places.
Yeah, he's been places.
Oh, man, we're going places, Gavin.
Yeah, we're going places. So thank you very much for everybody for listening, and we'll be back again in just a little over 2 weeks.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, pardon my money, 'cause I've got a crush, my